Hey there, welcome. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, some advancements have happened in a local story that I told you we're going to keep an eye on it for you. And this is the tragedy of the death of a a Marine veteran in the Tarrant County Jail. We don't like it when anyone dies in jail, but it's a little worse when it's a Marine vet. He died while being restrained. His name was Anthony Johnson Jr., and his family has retained a lawyer who is making sure that if there's any justice that needs to be meted out, it doesn't get swept under the rug. And so far, the new story on this case is that the jailers have been arrested, charged with murder, and released on bond. So with that, we welcome the attorney for the family, Daryl Washington, back to the James Show. Thank you very much for taking the time again. And
thank you for having me.
So do I have all that right? The jailers have been arrested, charged with murder. They're out on bond.
You absolutely have it right. They are out on bond. One of the requirements that the judge did issue is that they would stay on house arrest. So
tell me, what are we looking for here? Is this probably going to be a murder or a manslaughter, or what's the legal term for a layman?
They were indicted for murder. So these are the charges that the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office has gone forward with. These are the charges that we hope that a Tarrant County jury convict these jailers of.
See, I would think murder's a little too far. Like, they didn't go in there with the intention of killing them, so shouldn't that fall under the guise of manslaughter? Why didn't they use manslaughter here?
Well, and again, obviously, this is a strategy of the district attorney's office, but I think the one thing that really took it to murder is that you have an individual who would say it on multiple occasions he could not breathe. So you now know that that Anthony could not breathe. And despite being told this, you continue to apply weight to him, and nobody intervenes. So they had him in a prone position, which is a dangerous position to have someone in because it's been known to make it difficult for individuals to breathe. Now you have someone saying that he can't breathe, and despite that, you continue to put your body weight on him. So I think with all those factors together, murder was the appropriate charge.
Mr. Washington, do we think that this is more of an issue with police policies and training, or did we have some rogue cops who are misbehaving and not following the proper protocol?
I think you have a combination. Because just following the story, there's already been some comments made by one of the attorneys for, Lieutenant Garcia, where he's basically commenting on the policies or lack thereof. So we do believe what we're going to find is that this is just a custom. This is just a way and manner in which they are accustomed to handling inmates, and they have gotten away with it for quite some time. When you look at that video, you can clearly see that Jailer Marino was actually being summoned to come and put his weight on Anthony's body. So, when you look at it, you clearly see that this is something that's been done over and over again.
What changes do you hope get made from this story?
I think what's going to get made now is because this has become so public. Because we have individuals we have shows like the James Show that's covering this story, I think people are going to be demanding that there be some policy changes. Because as we said the last time I was on the show, you are talking about individuals who are not in prison. You're talking about individuals who are there just temporarily until they have their day in court. So it is incumbent on the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department to make sure that they are protected. It's incumbent on them to make sure that there are proper policies and procedures. One of the things that we've discovered is that there have not been any changes to the policies in the last 15 years. So when you think about that, that they're gone, they're being governed by old policies, those are things that really give you a pause.
I wish I knew more about the victim here, Anthony Johnson Jr. All I know is he's a Marine vet who's had mental health issues, and then in the online reports, he was originally arrested for waving around a knife at an intersection.
That was the report, but just to take you just a step back further, I mean, obviously Anthony was dealing with a mental illness, but the thing that I've really learned about Anthony, and he was such a great guy, is that he accepted the fact that he had a mental illness and he wanted to be treated for his mental illness. That was the thing that he wanted the most. He wanted to be better. Talking to his father, one of the things that was just so touching is that he actually told his father, "Hey, Dad, if I ever have another episode, could you please record me? I want you to video me because I want to see the condition that I'm in. How am I behaving?" He wanted to know this. So you have somebody that just truly wanted help. And that's what makes it so very difficult. You had someone who was in Tarrant County Jail that should have been in some facility being treated.
Now he's on medication. Was he denied his medication when he went to jail?
He was not provided his medication.
Is that standard? That seems like a really bad idea.
That's a great point you bring up. And those are some of the changes that we're talking about. We're learning that Tarrant County Jail is understaffed, that a lot of the people are not receiving the proper training because they're basically bringing in whomever would accept the job. So you need to make sure that the people who are there are properly trained. We need to make sure that there are proper policies. Again, if you make the decision to accept people into the jail facility, then you have an obligation to make sure that they're taken care of. There is one stat that I show that states that over 65% of the inmates at the Tarrant County Jail are dealing with some type of mental illness. So if the numbers are that high, then we ought to have policies in place. We ought to have personnel in place who know how to deal with individuals suffering with a mental illness. Because you and I know that someone dealing with a mental illness, there are certain things that's going to trigger them. So someone who has the proper training would know how to deal with them, and then we would not be talking about the 65th death at Tarrant County Jail.
Do we know if any jail does it right? Because my only research, I had a roommate, Dave, who it was his hobby for a few years to get arrested, and he talked about how different the jails were. Lew Sterrett was awful, Plano not so bad, Addison's you almost want to go to jail. They basically put a mint under your pillow. Is there any jail you can point at and say you need to do it like these guys?
I can't at this moment because, unfortunately, when I get called in, it's generally for situations that are really bad. I have a case that we just got resolved in Miami. They have been under a consent decree for over the last 10 years.
Whoa. And
it's just been bad. And when they're bad, they are really bad. And I think the problem is, for so long, there's not been a lot of attention placed on jail facilities because, let's just be honest. If somebody's in jail, the public are basically above the mindset that, they're supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be a great place. But now, you're hearing about these stories. You're hearing about the mistreatment. You hear about people dying. And now people are starting to focus their attention there, and they're seeing just how bad people are being treated at these facilities.
I appreciate the updates. Not only do I hope we get some justice for Anthony Johnson Jr., but some changes are made that other families don't have to go through this too. So keep us updated, Daryl Washington. I appreciate your time again.
Sure. Thank you very much for covering this very serious issue.
Thank you. And the tragedy of this is that this seems like a death that could be easily prevented. Just some changes there. And it's also one of these, it's like, is this normal? Is this what happens at all jails? Not all jails are that dumb to not allow people to have their antipsychotic medication. That can't be the norm, can it? Yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this story. The James Show continues next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.